I'm not responsible for anything that's about to come out of my mouth.
I love it.
Peter H., thank you for your question. What is something in today's world that you wish your characters would be able to see or experience? P.S. Congrats on the Emmy nominations.
Tim would be living his best life.
Yeah. God, he would. Yeah, I mean, he would be so proud of bits of how communities progressed. My goodness, what a question. I mean, God, there's so much. I mean, there's so much. I mean, the fact that I think for him it would be about education and about the inclusion of queerness and gayness in schools, I think, which I know, we still have in the UK, but I think he'd be incredibly proud. I mean, there's such an earnest response, but yeah, I think he would just love gay marriage. And just be able to, and to be able to be with. He loved so fiercely, and I think he would have wanted to stand by someone and to be able to let go of all that shame. I think, and he would have done as well.
I would love to see a photo album of him at just a bunch of different weddings, like enjoying it all.
Too much.
Totally. Okay, I'm going to go the Ernest route too. I would say, not that was beautiful, he said. I'm just saying, I'm not going to try to make people laugh. I would say it would be so beautiful for Hawk to get to see a world where he could have everything that he thought he needed to sacrifice everything to have, but also not have to sacrifice any of that to have it. Does that make sense? A world where he could have the job in the government, have the life in Italy, also have the love of his life, and also not have to feel like just kissing him in public wasn't a completely revolutionary act.
Beautifully said. All right, Laura's up next. Matt, what was your favorite scene or performance of Jonathan's? And Jonathan, what was your favorite of Matt's?
I can answer that. Sorry. My mind is blown with the performance of the polygraph test. I just think it's one of the most stunning sequences performed on TV. I think, how do you do that? There's nothing seemingly happening physically, but you know exactly what is going on, and the building pressure and everything that Hawk is as an animal is featured in that sequence. And I think it's beautiful, and you can't really compare it to anything. I think it's
very kind of you to say. We had an amazing director who I feel like did so much of that work. Right. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. I want to say thank you.
Not good with compliments. Got it.
Honestly, I mean, it's so hard for me to pick just one because Johnny was so brilliant in so many of our scenes, and just what he would bring to the table would force me into the moment and bring me right there with him. And I feel like a lot of it, and I'll just go sequentially, okay? The 50s, when you wrote, when you hung out at the party and I make you write the letter. I mean, just seeing everything his character was going through, but also having to steel myself from that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
That was the scene I was referring to.
Yes, that was it. And just the subtlety and the nuance of seeing this lost kid who was so ahead of his time. It was just all written across your face. And I loved you in the 70s.
I think a lot of people did, just saying.
Yeah, but also just the beauty of what he had brought from the 60s, because I knew what happened in the 60s, and I saw him bring that in the 70s, and it was the first time I saw you as a fully realized man. And it was whoa, it just brought me right into the scene.
Also, because with the first scene we shot in the 70s was our sort of day trip to the beach. Where
it was the
beach. And he checks in on
Yeah.
Hawk, and he's sort of studying, and you come out of the sea. And I remember likewise seeing, it was unbelievably moving, the sort of the spiraling of Hawk was so evident, but we hadn't seen each other until we got to the beach.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Yeah, so that was I remember that.
It was
really.
another one of those scenes that you're talking about that Ron writes that's so unexpected and such a juxtaposition emotionally, because Hawk at the time is like flirting with death, trying to kill himself and see if he has the courage to swim out far enough that he can't make it back. And he pushes himself that day, and then he gets to the beach and there's the love of his life waiting for him, who like brings him back to life.
And there's also something about Tim at that point has developed the ability to sit and observe and not, be led by his emotions. And it's so interesting when the person that knows you intimately, you can't hide behind. And at that point, Hawk is just with all tension, is holding on to try some semblance of being okay. And Tim can just see, which I think is,
it's powerful.
I mean, I'm sitting up here grinning like a fool because how satisfying is it to hear them talk about these scenes that we've been watching and loving, right, for so long. It's truly amazing to hear you, kind of pick them apart in that way. All right, Nicole C. is watching.
I have to say one other scene. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all.
Sorry, Nicole C.
I'm sorry. The last scene we had together in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Outside. The strength and the poignancy. You don't understand how great an actor you have to be to play Tim in that scene and not lean into the sentimentality too far, but have it be earned and just come from the soul and just come through the eyes so beautifully and in such a human way that it really was like, wow, that's like the degree of difficulty on that is unheard of, and just it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
That is Ron. That is that really is. But also, technically in a scene like that, I remember we cross-shot that. Do you remember by that? And so basically, what you see is a live reaction because when you film a scene, sometimes. So I don't know. Sometimes it's just you film. You know what I mean? Do you know? Yeah. So we were both being filmed at the same time. Yeah. And it was silent. And usually there was something. It was like a really.
It was like a gentle snowfall.
Yeah, there was, wasn't there?
In moments, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a sequence that wasn't in the finished edit where Tim and Hawk arrive at the gala. Do you remember?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, and there was the young activists that were fighting. Oh.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to you, huh?
Yeah, but it was just they rose their fist to Tim, and I think Hawk sort of acknowledged it. But it was just I think the scene, obviously the that's that's the big operatic moment, I suppose. And I think the whole crew and everyone, there was a simplicity to it by that point because all the work's done, for Tim as well, and that's what they've had their amazing, and that's the end of their amazing, beautiful sort of operatic life romance. That's it. And I think there was not much more to say, and it was clear for Tim for the first time in his life. And that's to do with that is literally to do with Ron's experience and his understanding of his own life, I suppose, but also interpreting other people's, and that's what made it. So I think it was. Yeah, I do think. It was so how the nerve, because we didn't get episode 8 for a while,
yes.
And as we were building momentum, and you're like, oh my gosh, like you see Noah and Jelani and knowing the sort of wealth of with Alison coming in and getting a sense of that because it was so me and Matt for so long, and then you'd see bits, you'd be like, oh my god, this is, and never doubting it, but just being so excited to see how a master can tie that all up, and it was amazing how he did it. And
there were a lot of things in flux up until the very end. Remember, there didn't used to be a milk scene, or the milk scene was very different.
Do you remember what they was? Do you remember?
Yes. Well, there were many iterations. But are you talking about the candle wax?
The candle wax.
I'm a little speechless. Woo. All right.
Anyway, we were finding these things out like a week before we do them, and so it was. But Ron had the whole thing mapped out in his mind, and he knew how to Tetris in the perfect thing to really bring the full arc of the relationship. So.
And he knew that it was the AIDS quilt that he was going to. That was his vignette. That, and he, I think at points, there were conversations about it could end in different ways, and he's like, that is how it ends. And I think that was one of his first images that came to his head when he considered adapting the novel. I just think it's so powerful, the zooming out and then.
Yeah, no, it brought many people to tears, I'm sure of it. Sticking on theme with different scene work, this is from Nicole C., who's watching on the live stream. Hawk's breakdown on Fire Island and the way in which Tim really takes care of him is so moving. What was each of your experience like filming that?
Well, I mean, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, no, go on, you say it.
Oh, no. No, you say it.
No, I mean, it was... I don't know why my brain goes to... I just remember... I think I'm nervous. No, it was so emotionally, it was, huge and upsetting, and, Matt... It's so easy to, obviously, as Tim, look after Hawk when Matt was giving that performance, but I do remember your wig fell off a little bit.
Your wig fell off?
Your wig fell off.
Oh, it did? Oh, you put it back on.
Yeah.
So that they wouldn't lose the tears coming out of my eyes.
I know, I was like, stay in it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But it was, because it was quite, it was
yeah,
real...
Yeah, it was a handsy scene in many ways. That honestly, that was one of the more challenging things I've ever had to do in my life. It was obviously so raw emotionally, but what Destiny did that was kind of a favor to us, but was also terrifying. There was no cut between. We had to play out the whole sex scene all the way through the end of the breakdown. So there was no. It's not like they separated out the two, which was obviously kind of terrifying as a performer, but ultimately, I think all the drug-fueled, just bacchanalian desire in it, mixed with the anger and the frustration and the turn in the scene, I think she really did us all a great service in that, and that she let us play out the entirety of it.
Yeah. And that's another example of Ron's how you think the scene, is so indulgent in the power play between the three of them, and their needs are all so explicit, and then for the picture of Jackson to be spotted, I think that was like a wild ride. But that's you're seeing sort of a Lamborghini at work there, and you just sort of all Tim has to do, you just have to listen and be there. But it was brutal.
But I did feel that. I felt everything that and that was one of those moments that we talked about in that coffee shop where you were there for me on every level, not only when we were filming, but when the cameras were in between and everything else. And it is a testament to Ron's writing, though, because it is so reflective. It's almost the same way with his alcohol intake, that you don't come for that secret he harbors or he lashes out at you, and it was kind of an echo of that. When he has a tragic secret, if you try to find it or uncover it, he attacks.
Well, we're going to finish up with two lighthearted questions from the audience. Megan would like to know, would Hawk and Skippy support Brat Summer? Megan, I love you. What a great question. That's part one.
Skippy for sure, right? He's like friends with Charlie XCX. So.
Yeah, he was at her birthday party the other day. I think that's basically what Fire Island was for them.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Hawk likes watching the twinks enjoy Brat Summer. And other people too, but maybe.
So I think that answers who is the bigger brat.
Oh my gosh. Probably Hawk. Yeah.
I think Hawk.
Okay,
fair.
fair.
You mean us as people? Or our characters?
I think we should go for both.
No, don't make us do that. I don't even know what Brat Summer means.
I don't either. I'm still trying to figure it out. There's a dance on TikTok. I know that.
Yeah, I like
we'll learn
that.
it and we'll do it and we'll post it. Okay. Last question. And this is, I guess, a lot of people asked it, so many names on this. Lots of milk questions. Jack and Jonathan. Jonathan, how much milk did you drink? What kind was it?
It's oat milk for me. I drank probably about 17 litres. No. Do you know what? We did that really quickly.
We did.
It was like
the end of the night.
a take and a half. Yeah. after about, 20 hour, 17-hour day.
Yeah, it was a long one.
I remember at the beginning of that, knowing that scene that was at the end of the day, and you look down at the call sheet, and we're like, we've done one scene, and we've got 7 to go, and it's like it was literally 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, it was but yeah. So actually, not that much milk, but it was for me. It was oat.
Okay.
Did you mind
I
that
had a
when you
great
licked it off my chin?
opportunity to talk about your charity if you want to.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
She's a great audience to talk to.
Well, it is.
Please
Yeah, I mean,
tell us
it's
about it.
amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful thing that Jonathan did that parlayed some of the work and awareness we did on the show and turned it into something much bigger and a great way to give back to the community.
Yeah, well, I do think that's something that was totally inspired by, obviously inspired by fellow travelers, but just the experience of telling the story. And yeah, I mean, the T-shirt sold out straight away, but I think that's because of Matt's command.
Well, the name of the organization is
the Shameless Fund.
And we can look online
We can, and it's gonna, it will. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited. It feels like a sort of a really interesting way of being able to support multiple charities as we go forward. And 2025 will be the year where we can start, identifying the grants. But there's amazing ways in doing things because it's kind of overwhelming. I think when you get asked to get involved with different charities, and I just sort of felt, obviously, wanted to. There's so many brilliant causes out there, and so wanted to come up with a way that you could disperse and also raise the profile of non-profits, and because how else do you? It's the sense of overwhelm, isn't there, with charities? And anyway, Shameless Fund will be a way that you can support those by hopefully buying some vibey stuff along the way. Yeah.
Well, good on you. You guys. This has been one of the most gratifying interviews I've gotten to do in my career. I love when I get to highlight work that actually says something, and that means so much to so many people. And to talk to 2 trailblazers in the community going out there and fighting the good fight through art, because I think nothing is more powerful than that.